Hey, what's going on, Power Rangers? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Album Club from Heavy Metallurgy. I'm Marty. Good to see you. I'm one of your hosts tonight. Hope you're doing well. And let's just get right to it. Kellen, how's it going?
Good. You know, I kind of jumped in late, so I didn't get a chance to chat with everyone. So I hope everyone's doing just fine.
Good.
Yeah. So let's see here. I enjoyed checking in last week and catching the Metallurgy episode, talking about the first with Melanie and Simon. They jumped in to talk about favorite records of the year. I did a review for the channel early on. I want to say about April or so on the new Psychodrome Venator release. So I finally got a physical copy of this. It's never a good sign when you put something away for like 3-4 months and you don't visit and touch it again. So we'll see where this lands at the end of the year for me. But
it's good.
I like this band. They grabbed my attention early on. So, but we'll see where it ends end of the year. It's kind of been a little bit of a focus with let's see. I'll kind of close with this summer, trying to spend more time with some thrash releases. So this is a more recent one. Chilean bands, I guess it's kind of death thrash. Suppression, Sorrow of the Soul Through Flesh. I followed this band because Ripper disbanded and their bassist went on to form this project. This is a little bit more of like a death thrash thing as opposed to a true thrash, but enjoy this release. They haven't put out anything since 2022, I believe, is when this came out. Another great Unspeakable Acts. On that note, we got a promo for this band. I don't know if anyone's pulled it yet or has chosen to review their newest.
I haven't even looked at the promos. I got to get my head back in the game here.
Simon may have brought this up on Friday, but back in 2020, I want to say, this band, Prescription, came out with a release that was really good. And if you don't recognize this project, I think I have shown Mavith on this channel before. Sort of American dudes who move out to Finland to do some really dark, evil kind of death metal stuff.
Good band, yeah.
Really good band. This is kind of, since Mavith disbanded, they went on to form this project. So I may sneak into that promo if no one's picked it up yet. And then I guess the last one I'll show off here. This is I don't think anyone's going to recognize this, but band from the 2000s, Corrupt, Swedish thrash. This I don't think ever got past this Slave State Serenades, which was released in 2012, I want to believe. Got in this band that aughts during the whole like when MySpace music stuff that was going around. That's the first I heard them. They've since disbanded and moved into different Swedish projects. I want to say like even like Enforcer is where some of them went. But anyway, this was their sole full length that was released on Very Young Blood Harvest Records. Anyway, a cool little like strange project to hunt down. I need to get a new sleeve so I don't put all my fingerprints on this thing. But anyway, that's what I've been spinning here.
Plus, you also have a new episode you just put up.
Yeah, I did an episode where I give my thoughts on the Swedish death and roll stuff, and Devin hit me up in the comments, let me know I'm terribly wrong. He's out there serving the proud and defending all things Swedish death metal. So Logan, I saw it, posted something about it. He'd been watching it, so appreciate that. But yeah, so a little bit of conversation regarding when I got into death metal, the role that death and the whole massive killing capacity and Wolverine Blues had on me, and how those records sort of have changed over the years for me.
Right on. Everybody go check it out. Link in the description to Kellen's page if you are not subscribe, go do so, please. Jim, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing good, not much. Yeah, I watched that video. It was a good one, Kellen. I do see your point. Yeah, neither that stuff is not Left Hand Path or Ever Blowing Stream, but I do love me some Wolverine blues,
Me
man.
too. I mean, you're
I
wrong, but it's cool. It's all right. He's
I
wrong,
just
but
can't, man. I just can't.
better to be cute than wrong, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever.
All right. So just digging back to my stuff I had for a while. This is Valon's. Oh my God, I'm gonna butcher this. Al, Aztec black metal. If you guys have ever heard the Black Twilight Circle, this guy's they're part of that. Really, really great stuff. Just this album is so unique. It's so unique, in fact, sounding that I got to be in the mood to listen to it. But when I'm in the mood, it hits right. So
I couldn't tell you the last time I spun that record. I'm in the same boat as you, really.
Yeah. It's kind of almost too weird, but I like that it's very unique. And when I'm in that mood, you just hear something really different. It hits the spot. So yeah, I'd say if you're into Negative Plane, I think that you could probably get behind this. It's got that same kind of twangy, dreamy guitar sound going on, but very unique black metal, very cool stuff. Also super cool cover. And you know how we were talking about Onslaught a few weeks ago, and I was like, well, for me, it's in search of sanity. But through that, I listened to Power from Hell, which honestly I'd never checked out before, and now it's my favorite Onslaught record. I love this thing. I had to go out and get it. Yeah. This rules.
Mine is all white. It's weird that the different pressings. One of them's got color in it, and I think the only color in mine is red eyes. It's weird. Different pressings, different covers.
I kind of wish mine was white like the original. I was kind of, but whatever. I'm just glad to have
interesting. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I've already listened to it so many times since I listened to it leading up to Album Club, and it's just I can't stop listening to it. I really, really, really love this record. So, got into the mood for a little bit of Cro-Mags and Ocean before, but it just hits the spot for me every once in a while when I want to hear some Rage. Yeah. And while I was kind of reorganizing my records behind me, I was I'd gotten really lazy to putting stuff away, dude, and I'd fill up a whole rack of stuff that I hadn't put away. So I was like, okay. So I spent an afternoon finally putting stuff away, but ran across Blood in Our Wells repress and played that again. Such a great record.
It is a great record.
Yeah. My favorite's Autumn Aurora, but this one I think is a close second. So good Druid stuff. But yeah, that's what I've been spinning this week.
Right on. Good to see you, Logan. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I got my little German Stein here. Been listening to a lot of power metal this week. This is stuff I never thought I'd say, but shit happens, huh?
We're glad to be making you a better man.
I know. One cheesy album at a time.
Yeah,
cheers, guys.
Cuba Velveeta at a time.
Yep, and I'm feeling a little lactose intolerant. I'm getting through it though. It's been a good week, honestly. I've been in a positive mood this week for the most part. It's not the power metal, it's something else, I'm sure. Let's get through the stuff I've been spinning that's not power metal real quick. Keeping with the trend of, I don't know, it's just been a rough month or so for metal. We lost Eric Wunder from Cobalt. Passed away on Friday. So brought out some Cobalt. This is only one I own, but I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with Gin or Eater of Birds either. But he was just such a very forward-thinking composer when it came to his metal. Never let himself get into a box. I mean, this feels...
Gin was awesome. What a great record.
Gin is a great album, and I mean, this one is right up there with it. It's maybe even more ambitious. This, to me, even sounds like Tool at times, which I know will turn some people off, but I love that band, and when it kind of pops up as a more progressive and dynamic element in this album, I think it hits perfectly. So, I don't know, rest in peace to Eric for sure. Thanks for all the sick metal. And then, absolutely loved Kellen's video. It did basically, that's all I listened to on Saturday was just a bunch of Swedish death metal. I'm with you guys on Wolverine Blues. I mean,
It's a good
and,
record.
and Massive Killing Capacity. I've always liked Massive Killing
I
Capacity.
struggle
I'm
with Massive.
full of hell.
Ah. I drink your blood. It's so many good songs on here. This is my first Entombed album, so that might have a reason why. I do partially agree with your overall thesis of the video, Kellen.
Yeah.
If you don't know, watch it. He lays it out quite nicely, and when he drops it, you're like, oh snap. But yeah, outside of the album or two after, like the classic, albums from Dismember and Entombed and Unleashed, I don't really dig that much deeper into the discography, and I don't know why that interest isn't there. But there's a disconnect that wasn't quite there with the American death metal bands, So I think you're onto something. And then I did a review for Metallurgy, which will be coming out at some point, and it got me into basically the opposite of power metal, antediluvian, some very just down-tuned, dirgy, maze-like death metal. This is Through the Cervix of Hawaii. I don't know. Sorry. But great album. Kind of a mess, but it's fun to get lost in. And then to plug something I've got going on with Jeff from Gas Masks and Hand Grenades on Sunday. Kellen, you were a part of one of these already. It's three of a different kind. Three of a kind. We're doing 3 albums that, aren't related by bands, but maybe just like the theme or the scene that they're out of, and why we like them and link them all together. We're doing kind of a grunge related thing. Screaming Trees, Sweet Oblivion, Mad Season, Above, and Temple of the Dog. Temple of the Dog. So yeah, come check that out. That's Sunday evening at, I believe, 8 Eastern. So yeah, Gas Mask and Hand Grenades.
Cool. All right. Good to see you.
Cheers.
And I've been crabby today. Woke up crabby. Been crabby all day. So power metal thankfully has helped counter that a bit. And I'm kind of at the end of a rock run here, but my friend Zoller sent me another CD in the mail that I didn't have. Kiss Alive 3. So it's been fun spinning this one. This is during the Revenge tour. Always look at it on vinyl and say, because I've got most of all the Kiss on vinyl, and that's where I started with Kiss, and that's where I kind of want to, but I look at the prices of some of the stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm not spending that for that. But it's really good performance. Paul's vocals are great. He sounds like he's completely on fire here on this one. No real duds in the mix. Yeah, I Just Wanna isn't a great song. But you got Unholy, Heaven's on Fire, Watching You. Oh, so good. Good mix of new and old for Kiss on this one. If there's a video for this, it'd be kind of cool to see it. But yep, that's been fun. I'm back on this Theaterfing album called Van Sinesvisser. I don't know. Swedish Viking black metal, kind of along the lines of Monogarm, but a little bit different. You can kind of tell they're both from the same country, but I really like the production on this record. It's pretty epic. Got a lot of clean chanting type stuff and really airy melodic riffs going on, but there's a black metal dissonant foundation to it. It's just a really good record. I've been meaning to get some other stuff by this band, and then I'm starting to get into this raw black metal thing, probably because of my mood. But I just randomly yanked this one off the shelf the other day. Forest Heart by Marble Bog. God, I remember really liking this back in the day, and this week it didn't. It's good, but man, all the songs are about the same speed. There isn't a lot of variation on it, which kind of hurts it a bit. But where there's moments where there's keyboards and stuff, it gets better. There's some good songs on here, but it feels a bit long. Towards the end, I'm really starting to itch for something a little bit different. But it was good to dust off one off the shelf that I haven't spun in ages. And yeah, the new Sargeist, Flame Within Flame. First spin on this, thought it was a departure. This band for me is Let the Devil In. That is such a great freaking record. This is a good Shatraug is doing the vocals now. He's not the most dynamic of screamer, but he gets the job done pretty well. But the more I've spun this, it's getting better and better and better. So I mean, they're not really going to sink the ship with this record. They're doing what they do pretty well. They're kind of on autopilot. But yeah, and then of course listening to a lot of Gamma Ray as well, because yeah, that's just what's been going on here. And today we are talking about the 5th album. Came out in 1997 by Gamma Ray, called Somewhere Out in Space. Came out on Noise Records. And a little bit of history. Gamma Ray is a German power metal band from Hamburg, Germany, founded and fronted by Kai Hansen after his departure from the power metal band Halloween in 1989. He is the band's lead vocalist, guitarist, and chief songwriter, which if you look at who wrote music on this album, it's pretty split between him and Dirk. So he's not he shares duties pretty much throughout the catalog, I believe. Between 1990 and 2014, Gamma Ray recorded 11 studio albums. And we're just going to leave it at that. I think most people know who Gamma Ray is. And even though Logan picked this one, I'm going to end with Logan because he's got the question. Kellen, what were your thoughts on Somewhere Out in Space?
Yeah, so Gamma Ray, I had been recommended many a time by one Mr. Worm and the professor, Mr. Allen, to check out Land of the Free.
Oh, this whole thing?
That I can go grab. I've got it sitting up here on the shelf, and as like, just hey, you're getting into this. This is cornerstone record. You should definitely check out. I absolutely loved it, and I mean, I was also sent. I think you sent Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 to me as well in a package. I enjoyed Gamma Ray more, but I kind of knew what to expect. This I had not heard this record at all. I saw it was sort of favorably reviewed on Metal Archives, and you hit play here, and it's like, okay, this is not going to let me down entirely. I'll get into the song right here, but at times they just can't help themselves. Like there's these funny little like, did we need to go there? Did we need to throw that in? Was that in any way necessary or complimented? And there's a couple moments on when I first heard Land of the Free where I'm like, man, this has got a little bit of an AOR tinge to it. And I know there's a little bit of a streak in that for German power metal, especially by 1997 is when this comes out, I believe. So a few times I caught myself laughing at this record, but overall did not disappoint in any way.
All right. Sorry, I'm changing the background. I started to do it before the show started, and I forgot to hit the.
It's okay.
Jim.
So, push play on this, and it's power metal. Most of y'all know that's not my go-to genre-wise. Typically, pretty much for me, power metal kind of begins and ends with Halloween and Blind Guardian. I love those two bands, especially their older stuff on both bands. I love Keepers 1 and 2, and have those, and got me some Blind Guardian, Middle Earth, and stuff. But by and large, I just it's too joyful for me. I guess I went into this with open mind. I obviously know that we're talking about Kai from Halloween, so yeah, man. It's everything I expected. It's great guitar playing, really great singing, cool harmony leads, awesome drumming, all that good stuff, and so it, even though I went into it with low expectations, I'm don't know much about Gamma Ray except their origins. It mostly won me over. There's definitely some cringe-worthy moments on this for me. We'll get into that later. But for the most part, solid musicianship. I mean, you you pluck anyone out of Halloween and let them make a record, and it's just not going to suck. You know what I mean? It may not be as good as other things, and it may vary in quality here and there compared to some stuff, but you know, they're just all fantastic musicians and singers and everything else, and so it's always quality. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely songs on here that I really enjoyed, and some I didn't enjoy at all. So, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for me, they're following up a pretty massive album. You know, when Gamma Ray started off, Kai didn't want to sing, so they had Ralph Sheepers from who went on to be in Primal Fear after he left Gamma Ray for 3 albums. Wrote some amazing songs, some really good albums, but a lot of weird things were going on. You could tell he just kind of wanted to wash the Halloween off him a little bit, which is weird. But it wasn't until this album where he started singing again, Land of the Free. And once he plugged himself back into the vocal position, this was a very successful album. And to follow up a very successful album, I think for any band has got to be tough. But really, Somewhere Out in Space came out 2 years later, and you know, it's a really solid effort. And my first impression of it is, you know, it's weird. You pluck the puzzle piece out of Halloween, and he starts his own band and just run, and it sounds like a chunk of Halloween, you know, running. There's little, you know, Dirk comes in and adds some more theatrical, almost show tuney moments here and there, which kind of happens on some early. Kai writes some of that stuff too, and Kai obviously likes Queen, so you can hear some Queen stuff going on here and there. But it's just really interesting hearing, you know, Kai independent of Halloween and still having that spirit. You know, Gamma Ray, it sounds like a separated brother, you know, conjoined twins, like they cut the twins in half, and it sounds like another version of Halloween running out there. And it's just interesting now with the new Halloween album coming and hearing him plugged back into that environment again. It just makes perfect sense. The songs he writes, it feels like Halloween and Gamma Ray. It's like it's really weird. He has a very distinct writing style, is what I'm saying. But yeah, for me, Gamma Ray is, you know, a perfect mix of hard rock, power metal, and speed metal. Speed metal is at the core of. You listen to the first minutes of Halloween. The speed metal is there, and even when Darius took over, you listen to, you know, Halloween albums always have a contingent of speed metal going on, and it's on here as well. So yeah, I mean, considering how huge the record was before it, they really did a really good job here. And we'll get into that. Logan, what did you think?
All right, yeah. First, some backstory, I guess. So I have a literal brother in metal, Mark. He joins me sometimes on my channel doing like band rankings and stuff. We did
Seems like
Blind
a good
Guardian.
Dude. Good dude.
Yeah, you know, I'm related to the guy. I'm not biased at all. He is a good dude.
Yeah.
But it's funny how the metal journey is different for everyone, right? Like I very much was like death metal, black metal. Give me extreme. I'll take sludge. I'll take anything that sounds screamy and just, you know, can kind of shock. But he was very much power metal. That was his thing. And he got into Gamma Ray and, you know, all the stuff you like, Marty. I'm sure he enjoys, you know, as well, or has his own differing opinions. So, yeah, we've been listening to Gamma Ray together for, you know, off and on over the years whenever we'd hang out. So I thought this was my first time spinning this album, but apparently I've listened to this probably half a dozen to 10 times. And when you're hanging out and having a beer and talking, you know, you don't retain as much.
Sure.
So it felt like my first time listening to it today. And this is his copy. Thanks for the loaner, Mark. I'll get it back in good condition, I promise. So first time actually diving into it for the stream, it did kind of feel a little freeing to be able to just focus on it solely. I will say the war in my mind of not liking power metal because of the happy elements that you were talking about, Jim, was definitely on full display. Like we would go from song to song and be like a different opinion each new track, you know. Beyond the Black Hole, I'll be like, that chorus is too happy. No Stranger, same thing. And
Love
then
that song. That's one of my favorites on the album, actually.
Then we get to Somewhere Out in Space. I'm like, fuck yeah, where has this song been? Let's just do this the rest of the album. And then, you can envision it. We get to tracks like Prey and The Winged Horse and stuff. But definitely a tug of war where I would go between regretting my decision to pull this and being like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, this, I could have been listening to I Hate God right now, but no, we're listening to Gamma Ray. And
I did it to myself.
Especially when they go into, it's all my fault. And the guy who sticks the stick in while he's biking knocks himself over. So especially when they get to the Yankee Doodle section of that one song.
Yeah, that's silly, a little silly.
Hey Josanna or whatever. Man.
Oh Susanna. Yeah.
Susanna. So it's
a
good track until they do that. It's just like, what are you doing right here?
Why did they? Okay, we'll get there.
We got to talk about that.
Someone needs to go on defense for that, so I can understand the reasoning. But still, it highlights the dichotomy of power metal, where it's like there's the two wolves. There's the cheesy Queen influenced wolf, and then there's the straight up speed metal, like let's just be running wild and be Halloween and all the stuff that I like. And it's tough to sink my teeth into, especially in the beginning. I will say I have gotten into this, and I like more than I thought I would, and it ended up being an overall positive experience. So this kind of ties into my question, because I was thinking, like, what do I like about power metal? What don't I like about power metal? Like, what is the issue here? And what's the way to get around the issue? So this question is going to be simple just for that reason. So what elements do you look for in a power metal album? What do your favorite elements of the genre have in common? Similarly, what elements can turn you off from a power metal album?
Well, since Jim is the muted.
I know it came up and told me. I knew you were gonna have me go first. So elements I look for in a power metal album. Is it Blind Guardian? Is it Old Halloween?
That's the extent of your exploration.
That's the first two things. What are my favorite? What examples of the genre have in common? It's definitely, to Logan's point, it's the speed metal aspect. That's when there's a lot of focus on that. I tend to like it more. The slower a power metal band is, or their songs get, then the less I tend to like it, because then I feel like there isn't a great counterbalance for the cheese factor. You know what I mean? Like the speed metal, the alternate picking, the double bass drums, the usually really well performed bass lines, that kind of balances out, the clouds parting the sky, anthemic choruses and things like that, and kind of silly sounding keyboards and stuff. But when the slower a band gets, and I'll just go ahead and say Prey is a great example. that on here, without all that, without the power of power metal, it just really falls flat on its face. Like, that song had me shuddering every time it came around. I was like, oh, we pray, yeah. I'm like, oh no, dude. I mean, it sounded like a Christian rock song to me. You know what I mean? Like, I could just imagine like one of those dudes up there with glasses and some khaki shorts playing an acoustic guitar. Like, everybody stand up for Jesus. Let's all sing along. It's like, I was not feeling that, man. So yeah, definitely, like, it's got to be by and large leaning on the heaviness, for me to like it, and so. You already heard about with the elements that turn me off. I mean, it's the same things that I think it's nothing new or earth shattering to say that, like, the happier, ultra melodic, poppier type sounds are tough to digest. I mean, that's what every criticism about power metal always is. And so I I don't want to like just throw that out there. It's so easy to just dismiss an entire genre, and I'm not going to do that because there's some really great bands in there. Besides Halloween and Blind Guardian, I don't own any of their stuff, but there's some Stradivarius that I like, and if here and there some stuff that I've heard that I dig, and some Twilight Force. I think Marty, you've played for me before. I thought was pretty cool. But it's really hard for me to like it enough to get there. Like Blind Guardian I always thought was that dude's voice. My brain's stopping right. I can't remember his name. Singer of Blind Guardian, like he's got that gravelly edge to his voice. So even when he's being super melodic, like it still feels like raging and powerful to me. Like there's some anger behind it, and that's a great equalizer for me in terms of all the uber harmonic elements that sort of kind of define power metal in a large sense. But so yeah, I mean for me it's kind of the typical thing, but I'm always gonna love Halloween, I'm always gonna love Blind Guardian, and so yeah, hey, I'm willing to be educated, so if you guys can think of like bands that lean more on the heavier side, yeah, I'm never checking them out. The Monogram is kind of like almost power metal, but leaning more to the heavier side. That's a band that I could get behind. I mean, like that's kind of where I'm going. But it's when it starts getting like like everything's gonna be okay, whatever. I mean that's hard for me, like in metal. Like I listen to all kinds of music, believe it or not, despite the metal church shirt. But when I want to hear like that kind of like lift me up stuff, I'm not going to listen to metal typically. I'm going to listen to something else that's just the genre. This is the happier genre. So if there's too much like joy, like I go to metal to like as a catharsis to release all that negativity through hearing the dark sounds, right? So it's a little bit harder for me to get to that place of a feeling of like mental emotional release when like the happiness is there. Like I said, I typically go to other styles for that. So I think that's always been my struggle with power metal, because I go to metal because I'm in the dark and I want to climb back out. If I want to be happy, then I'm listening to something really horrible that you guys would probably call me a poser for listening to. But like I said, I'm not like completely anti power metal or anything, but it's just not my go-to typically.
Kellen.
Yeah, I'll kind of at least begin. I think Jim's point about the speed metal sort of roots of it are important, but what I'll kind of build off of that point, at some level, I don't know when this happened, or if there's a one band you want to point to as sort of being the one to blame, but I almost feel like there's this ancillary world of power metal that has very little connection to what I would say most metalheads circulate around. Right. I feel it's a totally different culture, but I have the same sort of like external world that exists with something like slam. It's like that's a whole culture unto itself that I don't feel really connects with your everyday sort of metalhead. And I think power metal has their own separate sort of world as well. It's like all in video games and Guitar Hero, and like they don't care at all about trying to get to know the roots of heavy metal. They just live in their world of super fast blazing guitar solo kind of Guitar Hero stuff. And whatever, I don't know what else makes up the rest of the culture. It's the video games that, and
you're preaching,
and whatever some other online community,
D&D, Magic the Gathering,
anyway,
LARPing.
But I just think there's a part of power metal that lives out like their music culture away from heavy metal. And I don't know, like determining how that line exists when the records I'm listening to, how to determine that is something that probably, for someone like Jim, he may pull the pull away from it faster than I would. But like, since I started to get into the genre, bands like Domine from Italy, they play a little bit more of an epic style. I haven't quite got into the whole symphonic side of things like Nightwish or Stradivarius, but like that's a whole other world I've yet to explore. We did Conception here, which is a little bit more on like the power prog kind of like. Those bands to me feel like collectively they are part of heavy metal, where there's a part of the world within power metal that, they got their cardboard costumes and cosplay and like that whole side of the genre. I think that's where I start to pull away.
Yeah. Understandably so. That's easy. That's an easy jumping off point.
Right.
100%.
And here's like, I go back and forth on the band, like, a newer band that's out of Japan called Love Bites.
God, they're great. They're
so put them
good.
on record, and they're just like very much, to your point, Jim, they would almost pull onto that like thrash speed metal side of things. It's a super fast, aggressive band. Then you look at them, and they're dressed head to toe in these elaborate dresses and
look like baby metal's moms.
Yeah. So there's a world on record where I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm willing to listen to this. And then I see them and I'm automatically sort of like my guard goes up, just because it feels like in order to operate within the world of power metal today, they have to kind of like, this is a trade-off they have to give. They can't just be a great band that makes great music. They also have to look apart. And I think nowadays that's kind of one of those things where I don't know how to make of it, but I do find I'm driven to bands that have some kind of connection, right? Sacred Outcry to me very much appeals to like a Greek epic sound. But there's roots in a band like Lost Horizon, right? We cover them here on the channel. Those dudes were all in death metal bands from Sweden in the early 90s. So
Luciferion.
Yeah,
like guitar player. Yeah,
I guess it doesn't necessarily answer your question directly, or I don't have a definitive line for you, Logan. But I think those are points of, I would distinguish, like, if you are no longer interested in being part of the culture as a whole, I kind of feel like, equally repelled by what you're offering.
No, I think you nailed a certain section I was thinking of. So sorry, Marty. I just wanted to agree.
All right. I just want to have you highlighted when you talked. Okay. For me, I started off younger guy, traditional metal, a lot of metal blade bands, found Halloween, fell in love with it, just the speed metal element to it. And, as it went on, that band they just embodied, what do I look for in it? Let's go to that melody. I get so worn out sometimes by dissonance and darkness, and every once in a while it's great, a really well executed melody line. Ben mentioned it in the chat earlier, the neoclassical twin lead harmonies, stuff like that. Halloween were the kings at that. They kind of started doing that, the twin guitar lines that are just complete in lockstep, busy, just so full of melody. It feels like you're soaring, it takes heavy metal, it takes speed metal, and it gives it a wider scope, more of a world building element for me. And basically power metal is a place where real shredders go. It just that whole genre is custom tailor built for people that can sing really well, people that can play really well, whether it's drums, keyboards, or guitars or bass. You got to be skilled in musicianship to enter into the realm if you're going to want to succeed in the power metal realm. So, we talked about Lost Horizon. This is a band that came from the death metal realm and got an amazing singer and wrote some excellent speed metal, power metal, speed metal, and energy and fire. And there's when I listen to power metal, what do I look for in good power metal? Excitement. I don't necessarily want to follow a standard pop structure musically. And you listen to a lot of the songs on here, that's not happening. You listen to a lot of the Halloween songs. Yeah, they have moments where they kind of trail off into pop or AOR or hard rock. But the big epic Halloween songs, you're on this journey and you're going to hit a massive music break in the center with solos that aren't just tweedly. There's solos that go somewhere. There's music. There's songs within songs. So that's all shit I look for in power metal. Good singer is very important. And to Cullen's point about the whole, the paper mache wearing and the tin foil and the, you just have to check your you have to reside into yourself how much you can take, And one thing that gets me with that type of stuff, I'll say Angus McSix, man, some Glory Hammer shit. My kid got into it. I got into it. It's so catchy. There's the melodic earworm, good singer, melodic earworm. Oh, I'm a sucker for it. I just dig it. And yeah, I have to, listen to it with the video off. I don't want to see what they look like. But, still songs about unicorns and magic jetpacks and, it's ridiculous. But at the end of it, is the performance good? Is the melody strong? Does the song stick in my head long after? And I'm okay with it. What were you going to say, Kellen? Go ahead.
Do you think that ultimately limits their shelf life or their credibility, I guess?
Sure. Bands like Glory Hammer or Angus McSix, they're not going to be talking about them in the annals of music history. They're not.
Right.
Other than, this is a kid's thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like, there's another thing about power metal. Power metal is tailor-made, I think, there's US power metal. There are differences between US and European power metal. There just are. And, it wasn't until Keepers Part 1, Halloween defined what the European style is and kind of has been ever since. But it just, to me, seems custom. When I listen to power metal, I feel like I want to be in a European festival amongst 70,000 people. That just seems like the place for it. It's more widely accepted. And I have an underground heart. I love the underground bedroom black metal and the brutal death metal. But the older I get, I'm starting to really kind of call back to my old rock and my old traditional metal roots a lot. And I've kind of warmed myself, I still, it's nice to have different genres. You can bounce around to all these different styles, whatever your mood is. And it's just nice having power metal there for the pick me up and to be reminded about good melody lines and power from a different point of view and maybe a more accessible view. It kind of turned my heathen guts. It turns my heathen guts, my old me, if you heard the new me saying this, but it is what it is. We grow, appreciate different things the older you get. And there's definitely a place in my listening for this stuff. And Gamma Ray, obviously, it's one of the legends of the scene. And he's an amazing musician. And he surrounded himself with amazing musicians. Logan, sorry, I rambled. Sorry about that.
What we're here for, right?
And
I don't think your question. Sorry. Maybe I did. It's in there somewhere.
You guys all did, man.
Okay.
No, for me, I asked the question because I would like to be able to get more into it, than I am. Like, kind of, it's not necessarily an iron curtain, but it's, there's like Blind Guardian is over here and the stuff I like, and then everything else is on the other side of that curtain, basically. So I would like to be able to get more into just other bands because there's other great bands in this genre and style. So that's partially why I asked. I think I'm going to start with what I kind of don't like just because I want to piggyback off of what Kellen was talking about. And partially this might be what rubbed me the wrong way initially when getting into just the metal subgenres. And I'm like, what should I choose? And this is probably more of an American thing than a European thing. God knows the Europeans are probably all in on every single subgenre, power metal included. But in America, the power metal scene is indeed isolated. It feels completely isolated. Time and time again, I would meet someone, while I was growing up and just getting into metal and looking for someone to talk death metal, black metal, anything, slightly more extreme with, and there'd be like a commonality with a power metal band. And that would be it. They wouldn't know anything. They wouldn't know Slayer, would know a Metallica song, if I was lucky. It would just be like they were on the island alone with like all the elves and fairies and, fairy tale, dragon lords, dragon force. And then they would go right back to like pop music or hip hop or I don't know. There was just so many people who would just get into power metal and that was it. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. there's no issue with just being a power metal fan and not actually caring about metal overall. But we're metalheads. We want to talk about, the full scene, the tree, the growth, the journey of, how metal became what it is and splintered. And, I'm especially.
I will say though,
Yeah.
people that are strictly into traditional or power metal, I get why they don't like death or black metal. It strips away. I mean, you take that melodious voice out of the equation and put, grovelly, grotesque screaming and often dissonant, no lack of melody. I mean, I see why power metal heads don't care for the other,
And
anyway, go ahead.
That's fair. I felt like there was also the missing of the journey, right? Of the, I found Iron Maiden. Oh, I got into, this thrash band or this proto power metal band. It was like, oh, I went to play D&D and this song, was about D&D. Oh, look, it's Glory Hammer. And now we're Glory Hammer fans. Or, oh, Sabaton is, it would be like about certain bands or songs more so than the scene overall, and it does feel separate here in America. Like you can go to a power metal show and you will see entirely different group of people than at a even thrash metal show, which I know is different from I'm assuming different from Europe. So, and then also I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like the fan base of power metal want to divide it up into genres and nerd out to death about like what fits in where, and is this progressive power metal or is this thrash power metal or is this melodic death power metal, like God knows in black metal, death metal, doom, we do this to death. I have a blast doing it. I enjoy talking about sub genres and all that kind of shit, but for power metal it just feels like here's power metal, and it's everything from Dragon Force to Blind Guardian to Stradivarius and even Nightwish sometimes, and for as a fan trying to get into it, I use the subgenres as a way of like walling off certain sections. Like, oh, I like this. I like, now I enjoy melodic death metal. Now I enjoy symphonic death metal. And with power metal, it doesn't feel as defined, like sure there are some delineations between the different styles, but there's not a full conversation constantly going on about what fits where. And that's something I actually really enjoy about the other subgenres of metal that, I frequent. It's talk all the time about where everything fits. And it's fun to me. And it helps me kind of put my placeholder of what I like and what I don't like just a little bit better. So, but what I do like, is basically Blind Guardian. Give me the speed metal influence. Give me the vocals. I love Hansi's vocal approach. It's a bit more baritone, a bit lower in the mix, and it doesn't feel happy. Like he feels like he's singing, the heartbroken ballads and everything that happens in the stories that Blind Guardian are singing about. It is conveyed through the music, and that's definitely something that I look for in the power metal that I like, and I think it is here in somewhere out in space, maybe a little different. And there's definitely some hurdles I had to get over, but there's definitely some elements that I do like of this album just immediately.
Hey, Marley, what's up? All right, let's discuss musicality and composition of Somewhere Out in Space. Kellen.
So the majority of this record is classic German power metal for me. I think the sort of the template works really well. The two examples that probably like Valley of the Kings, that just rolls along.
Mm-hmm.
Double bass, you get a big nice like chorus in there. That song is pretty sort of simple, straightforward. You want a template as to explain what to expect from the genre. It's a great song for what's going on there. Guardian of Mankind for me. that's to me on this album. If you want to demonstrate sort of guitar work, the solos on that stand out. Just brilliant sort of dueling guitars. The probably other one that I would want to bring up briefly, I think you mentioned is one of your favorite tracks. I think No Stranger does a really good job navigating some like more traditional heavy metal. A brief moment where you get to the chorus where it kind of feels it's going to soften up.
There's a bit of hard rock in it.
It's
which
a
I like.
hard rock, but like it goes just hard rock. And then you actually do get a cool moment where like you're reminded of the speed metal stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a good sort of segmentation of like the overall verse from that song feels very much like straightforward kind of heavy metal. You get a little bit of moving into the rock, the mood lightens, and they drop, later on the back end of that song into some faster sort of double bass guitar stuff, which is just classic German power metal. The moments where I actually think the closer, so Shine On's interesting here for me because it opens at a much faster pace than which it closes with. And I think that does a good job in terms of the exit to this album. I was just comparing this to the opening track. There's really no, Land of the Free opens with sort of their big epic. And I want to, off the top of my head, the name escapes
Rebellion
me,
in Dreamland.
Yeah, thank you. Rebellion in Dreamland. But that's like, it's an 8-minute long song. And it just absolutely is captivating from the beginning of that album. You don't really have that moment on this record. The closest they probably get to the epic is, I want to say, the 7th track. I'm sorry, 9th track, Winged Horse. I really don't mind that record. It doesn't just stand up to me by comparison to Dreamland. It's not quite as strong. And the placement of the record, I think this is a little bit long for me. Staying captivated towards the back end of it, tracks, let's say, past track 9 or so. I actually had to like segment this and like stop listening to it, go explore the back half of the record just because it kind of rolled along and I didn't stay engaged throughout the entirety of the listen at like almost an hour long, I believe. The two moments we briefly brought up, Lost in the Future, that is like the ripper of this album. It's got the most aggressive guitar tone. It feels like it's bordering into thrash. And then why do we feel the need to do this?
I don't know.
It's like someone who can't have a serious conversation for a long period of time before they crack a joke. You know what I mean? It's like they can get somewhere, and this feels like a full-on sort of thrash cut, and they just can't handle going through the entirety of it without sort of some sort of levity. So they throw in this little joke moment. And the other one that stand out to me that kind of made me laugh is on the title track. There's this interesting, like right around 2 minutes and somewhere out in space, where a piano comes in and this take me down, take me to the underground. Like that little moment, the whole vocal cadence there along with the piano just feels like an odd, like, why, like, where is this coming from? And I 100%, it could be one of those lost in translation, sort of German to American kind of deal. But it just feels a little bit goofy to me. And I first heard that, he's like having a good time and playing with it, but the vocal cadence, there's no callback to that piano part. So it doesn't really add to the overall sort of like character of the song for me. It just is a weird little blip on the screen.
But love it or hate it, you didn't know at the start of that song you were going there. That's what I'm saying. They're not following conventional power metal formula here, which I really respect that. I don't always like where they go, but it's cool to be like, oh, okay. And the fact that it fits, even though I don't necessarily like it, it's just kind of cool,
Yeah, I first heard it and it kind of like caught my attention. Like that's kind of an odd, just the vocal refrain to it added in anyway.
Yeah.
That it just felt a little bit strange. And those are like the sort of the fly in the ointment throughout this listen. There's a little bit of just, I felt the same thing with Land on the Free, where they can't help but have a little bit of fun. It's a little bit of break. And this is the same guy who's got pumpkins in Halloween going, or like, it's the same personality trait.
Yeah.
Where they don't want to take
Halloween still does that.
Yes. It's so there's a certain amount of like-heartedness that you have to be able to sort of completely engage with the record. I don't mind, for example, the uplifting sort of end that Shine On is. That sort of like self-empowerment aspect of power metal never really bothers me. But it is sort of these sort of goofy, playful, we're super talented musicians, but we also like to play a little joke on you now, like that kind of deal that I never quite am totally at peace with.
Right on. All right, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Sky Hansen, man, incredible guitar player.
Oh my God, sick.
Great singer, and his riffs are awesome, man. Beyond the Black Hole starts, and it's just like everything you want in a power metal song. Alternate picking, double bass. Into the black hole, into the dark. Good stuff that you can remember and sing along when it comes back around. There's a heavy riff behind the solo in that song. That's one of my favorite moments on the record. It's really, really cool, heavy riff and it's just like, it's not there if you're not listening for it. But when you kind of focus on it, you can see like just how heavy they can really get, which is, really cool and refreshing. Kellen is exactly right. It's kind of always been Halloween's thing. Back in the day, Marty was kind enough to let me read the history of Noise Records book. Where they say, they made a conscious decision where they were not going to be like a dark band. Like, they felt like that's been done. We're going to go the other way. We're going to be happy and have fun and all that. And so, I think that once they start leaning into those darker moments, they got to swing it back, but yeah, man, the Oh Susanna thing, that was an overcorrection, dude. What really sucked about that for me was Lost in the Future. That was up until that moment, like it was one of my favorite songs on the record. Like I loved it. I was like, this song is awesome. It's super. It's heavy as hell compared to the other ones. Chorus is really memorable. Just everything about it is just like, wow, this is a great song. And then I'm like, what is happening? You know what I mean? It's like,
thankfully it's brief.
It's
not brief enough, but it's still.
I'm a guy. I live in Florida. I got Alabama roots. I don't want to hear that stuff, man. I grew up with that. I don't want to hear it. It really, really turned me off. I was not a fan of that at all. It sucks because that is one of the greater songs on the record, I think. And outside of that, and still like listening to it, I cringe while that's going on, but then when it stops, I'm like back into enjoying the song again. So, and I think that for me is my issue with power metal in a nutshell. It's like, okay, there's a really cool, dark, intense moment here, and then there's an overcorrection. The kind of that takes me out of it. That like, I was really feeling something there. I had an emotional connection with the song, and then something silly like that, like somebody popping out of a birthday cake or something. It just kind of just takes me out of the moment, man. And I get that has been Kai Cruz, like, that has been their doctrine from the beginning. That's been their mandate, but it's hard for me, on the early Halloween stuff, even on the Keepers, like when it came out, like I loved the song Halloween, and even though the video was goofy, the song itself was completely badass, incredible musicianship, loved the scales and the runs. But then, like, when I Want Out came out, like a year later or whatever.
That's a great song, though. Well written song.
I have learned to love that song. I have, but as a thrash kid, like in the first, I was like, this song sucks, man. You know what I mean? I was just like, like it's so goofy and and that where he does it for like a whole minute. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like now I listen to it and I love it. It definitely grew on me. But again, like it, at the time, it took me out of it. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, such potential, and it's just like, it ruins it for me. But by and large, though, I think the Gamma Ray err on the side of metal. Thank God on this record. There's some really cool. I like the riffage on Somewhere on the title track. Somewhere Out in Space is very varied and super heavy. Lots of cool, like, palm muted triplet type riffs, like, just like cool thrashy kind of riffs that really keep me interested. There's a mid-tempo gallop on Guardians of Mankind. There's that line that, like, makes me just like, I wish it were true, but it's like, and wisdom conquers hate. I'm like, not in the United States, buddy.
Yeah.
Try again, but I like the sentiment, right? We want that. I mean,
Yeah.
it may not, I mean, the whole thing about power metal and even metal in general really can be said that, it's escapism. We want something different, right? And so, I appreciated the sentiment. And sometimes it's like, I can't tell if they're trying to be funny or not. But it comes across that way. Like on the landing, that brief little interlude thing, when he says riding the machines, like I just crack up every time, man. I'll say riding the machines, man. I don't know why. It just gets me, man. So, where it veers off course for me is like, I already mentioned, the piano based cheesiness of Prey. You guys know what I feel about that one. And Shine On is a pretty good song, but there's definitely like a section where it's like, it's quiet and it gets all like,
The show tuny.
Yes. Like I was
Broadway.
thinking
Yeah.
I was thinking Meatloaf. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to hear Meatloaf.
You want Meatloaf? You should listen to Streets by Sabotage. It's cool. I end up really liking that album, but very Meatloafy. Very Meatloafy.
Yeah. Well, and so's Trans-Siberian Orchestra, but they're fun to watch during the Christmas time. So
Yeah.
Especially when I saw them with Alex Skolnick, that was awesome. But yeah, man, I mean, all great. Okay, even if you take that objectively, for me, I may not like that stuff, but let's face it, you got to be a great musician to be able to write something like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you really got to know what you're doing. So, musicality and composition, though, all the choices may not be, something that I enjoy. I respect it, man. So they get major props for it.
A show like Shine On, you're not just jamming that one out. There's a lot of thought wrapped around a song like that.
No. And dude, like, even like the vocal performance on that, like you feel that, even though it Shine On is a phrase that has been overused in music for, 100 years now. But when Kai and crew are singing it, like you can't help but feel it. Like he cuts through like the ubiquitous message and just with the sheer power behind the voice. Like I feel it. Like I don't mind Shine On's chorus at all. It doesn't bother me. The only thing, it's one of my favorite songs on the record. The only thing I don't like is that weird Meatloafy section. I just wish I could, just like the Oh Susanna part. Like, can we just like excise that and put it over here? Like
cut and paste or cut and bring things together.
Yeah. Like maybe a couple hidden tracks. Like get it all out there. Yeah.
All right, Logan.
So I'm definitely glad that this is the album that I kind of chose to dive a little bit deeper into the power metal wormhole. It does have that core of heavy metal to me. Like the backbone is still the German speed metal that was happening on, Halloween and Blind Guardian and, even like what Running Wild was doing. I can still hear like the through line from that early 80s to this album right here in 97. And like as soon as I was able to get past my initial distaste for like some of the choruses that feel too automatically over the top, like even that the Black Hole chorus even was a bit too much in the beginning. Like I grew to like it and I enjoy it now, but the speed metal sections and like kind of the heart of it to me is what made me want to keep coming back and what helped me to kind of click with it. But then as I went along, the album went from feeling on the longer side, where I was like, oh man, this is an hour long. There's 5 more songs left. What am I going to do? To, oh shit, Shine On's the next track. We're basically done. How'd that happen? So there was definitely a transformation that happened as I went through the week, where, you know, I got more into the meat of this album. And I really do think it's the variety on here, because there is a lot of different style songs. There is like the more straight up like speed metal sections and speed metal tracks, like, you know, Black Hole and the title track, but then they will dial it back and play something a bit more just straight up heavy metal that I really enjoy. Like, we get tracks like Valley of the Kings, and I agree with No Stranger, where it feels more, it's like in the pocket of what more traditional heavy metal would potentially be doing. And I just enjoy that. And especially when that influence pops into the choruses and we get like the group vocal shouts in the choruses, you know, like Valley of the Kings. And I love that the landing, you know, riding the machine, everyone's chanting along. Why can that be a whole song? Let's cut Pray. Let's make that 4 minutes long, and, you know, we'll be good.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Like when they're like focused on the heavy metal, speed metal heart, I'm all in, and I think that really is the majority of this album for me. And I mean, I plucked this album out for a reason. I hear some Judas Priest.
Kai, it was mentioned earlier in the chat. Kai really goes, and the album after this too, a lot of Judas Priest worship, a lot.
It's his vocals. I mean, have they always been a little Halford-esque? I guess they have, but there was a couple moments on here that made me think of like tracks off of this one specifically, and off of Painkiller, because of how, you know, Kai delivered the vocal lines and stuff. And like,
oh yeah, you're right, man. The main riff off Men, Martians, and Machines, that's definitely Painkiller-esque.
Sure.
Dude, Watcher in the Sky, he says, I am perpetual. You're like, all right.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Like, I know what you're doing. And some of the way the verses are delivered, it makes me think of Nightcrawler too. So I just heard a lot of just different Judas Priest points in here, you know, which I love Judas Priest. So that was always good when that would pop up. And I do love Kai's vocals. He does have that warlock kind of shout scream, like, but a lot of dynamics too.
Yeah, a lot of dynamics, and then the ballads he can actually sing. You know, he's got a very unique voice, and he works it really well. You know,
and I think that's why I respect it, because you know it's Kai, you know it's him, because no one else has that candor. And I always remember listening to Blind Guardian. He would pop up on a couple of the earlier Blind Guardian albums and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and that would always be a fun like high note of whatever song he was popping in on. It's just this like high shrill vocal performance.
He was out a lot. He was also on an Angra album and Storm Warrior. Yeah,
he just has a unique voice for power metal, I think, and that helps him and helps Gamma Ray stand out from the pack to me. Just the fact that you automatically know it's going to be Kai singing, and, you know, it's funny that he wants to shy away from that limelight or whatever of being the vocalist. Like, he tried 2 different times to not be, but hey.
Well, he also did it in Gamma Ray. He employed Frank.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. He didn't want to be the vocalist.
I think the cigarettes have caught up with his voice, but when we saw him in Halloween, he sounded great. You know, he struggled on a couple of the high notes, but for the rest of it, he crushed it. So, yeah, he did his whole Kai's medley, and he sounded fantastic. Surprised.
Good for him, man. And I even enjoyed all the symphonic elements when they would pop up on occasion. Like, they really do build a lot of the tracks, like the ending of Somewhere Out in Space, where all of the keys and everything just kind of builds up around the chorus. Probably my favorite moment on the album. The Winged Horse is so over the top in this way with all the different keyboard elements.
It's an aggressive song too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that just adds to the variety of the album, and to me makes it flow relatively quick. Like it ended up feeling like a 45-minute album to me, as I was getting through it today, where as in the beginning of the week, it was like, man, an hour and 15 or something.
It's a long, yeah. That's when labels back in the 90s, they expected more. They were kind of phasing out vinyl. Yeah.
It was the CD format. They had to deliver the full range.
Fill it up. Yep.
But I will agree with everyone's saying. I don't get what the weird need to have an odd, like, adventurous, like, whimsical, take 3/4 of the way through your song. That I'm 100% with Jim. The "Oh Susanna" moment totally ruined one of the best songs on the album. Like, it would have been probably, when we get to favorite tracks, it probably would have been in the top 3, but it's now kind of a footnote just because of that. And maybe play devil's advocate. Like, it sounds like it's a song about, being to boldly go where no man's ever gone before, like a adventurer, Star Trek kind of person. So maybe that's why they thought it fit. Like, we're going out. We don't know if we're going to return. Don't cry for me. Wives at home. I mean, it makes no sense. I don't know. It's still a bad choice. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, I guess.
Yeah.
But then that pops up like almost on every single song. Kellen, you mentioned the "Somewhere Out in Space," the weird like 90s alternative, like going down. Men, Martians, and Machines has like the odd whispered like kind of build up to it. Yeah. Even Beyond the Black Hole, and I Shine On with the Meatloaf section. I do think you could probably trace it to Queen. I'm going to blame all this stuff on Queen, and they love this era of German power metal loves 70s hard rock, and Queen especially. Uriah Heep too. Uriah Heep would kind of add some interesting flares every now and then, and they cover Uriah Heep as a bonus track on the song.
And it's a great cover, great song, great cover. Man, it's good.
It is. But sometimes I don't need it on every single song, when they're going through.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, my one complaint with it.
I mean, you guys covered it very well. As far as songwriting and composition, I mean, I listened to this and, between Dirk and Kai, these guys complement each other well, much like Wyckoff and Kai did. And the songs, I find them exciting. Even if they go into realms that I don't like the "Oh Susanna" moment or I'm not a huge Queen fan. And, especially on this album, my favorite song on there is "Man on a Mission," the second song, crushing song. And then they go into this Bohemian Rhapsody breakdown in the middle. But then when it kicks back into the main part of the song, it hits even harder. So I get they temper their choice of, they sprinkle their choices of dynamics with a little bit of classic, some of the classics in there. But, I listened to this record and, again, they're following up a well-loved, a fan favorite album, and it feels in the pocket with it. But I think it's a more consistent album than Land of the Free, but I think the best songs on Land of the Free are better than the best songs on this album. But this album, I love how, the speed metal remains the heart. That's still kind of spun throughout all these songs in varying degrees. Sometimes it's more prominent. Other times it takes a backseat to more of a hard rock vibe. And again, you sell it with good singing, great guitar playing, and melodies in the chorus that just after the song's done, into the black hole, into the dark, the heavy riff underneath that, the whole thing. It just, each song when it gets there, what song it is, because you can tell the melodic nature of it and know what the chorus is. And I love that. And it's expert songwriting, and he's been doing it for years, him and Dirk both. And now he's back in Halloween, and a lot of you haven't heard the new Halloween yet. It's a lot of there's some gamma rayisms you're going to hear on it. Kai did 2 songs for it, but it's still so good. He's just so locked into what he does and is a songwriter. And and this is, Land of the Free was the start of a very nice run of excellent albums, and Somewhere Out in Space is the second in line, and it's for me, it's really well done. Let's talk about production. Kellen.
I really like the production here.
Clean and crisp and vibrant.
But yeah, like nothing to the point where I feel whatever clarity you gain from a power metal record, I don't feel it's so overdone to the point where it doesn't sound also like a great heavy metal record to me. Guitars like balance when they have the solo stuff, everything's presented clearly enough. You can hear all the sort of talented, intricate soloing going on. The riffing, like there's a good balance in terms of that side of the solo side versus sort of the overall riffing, and the chords have enough like distortion and body. Then there's enough gain going on that they're large enough within the mix. Say you step a little bit, a few octaves down, like the top end of the bass, I think is handled incredibly well. Like it doesn't sort of reach into too clean of a sound, but you can hear it. And as talented as they are as musicians, like it's playing along and doing some cool stuff. So the point where you don't lose track of what's happening in the bass. Reaching a little bit further into the mix and like the lower octaves, like it's also heavy enough, right? So the same things that I think the guitars present, bass carries through. Top end is clear enough to hear it, also has enough body to occupy enough space in the mix. The problem I always have with power metal in terms of the choices with the production predominantly has to do with the snare sound. I think snares sound a little bit too tightly wound for me. It's just a little bit too compressed of a drum sound.
There's a snare on here. Whenever I listen to this, especially in headphones, all I can hear the kicks. Constant.
Yeah, like there's plenty of like great bottom end sort of kick work going on.
Yeah.
But I think I had the same sort of observation when we listened to Lost Horizon, where it's just that part of the mix seems to be too sort of thinly sort of strung or too tight. It doesn't have enough body as a snare that I would prefer in terms of drum voicing. I do like, though, as much as power metal tends to favor sort of operatic or strong vocal performances, I think it's enough into the mix that works really well for me. It's not so pressed up to the front where it doesn't feel connected to the band. So I think that works well for it. As a power metal record, I think it sounds great. I had the same sort of experience with Land of the Free. Equal sort of good choices for power metal within a heavy metal context.
Right on. Jim.
Yeah, not much for me to say here. I mean, to me, it's like the prototypical, power metal production. Very, very clean, very professional. Obviously done in a great studio. Everything kind of sounds, really kind of, perfect. There, this is power metal, man. There's no room for rough and ready. You know what I mean? Everything is going to be very slick and, but for the style, like this is a style of metal where that just works. Like, when power metal gets dirty, it becomes more speed metal. You know what I mean? Which I prefer speed metal, so I don't mind. But if you want pure power metal, you want it super clean. You want it really high production values, and you've got that here. When the album opens, there's that kind of the drum and double bass and then bass guitar run, and the bass sounds good. I wish he wasn't doing slap bass, but he's but yeah, the bass does sound really good. I was like almost having like a Mordred flashback for a second.
Every day's a holiday.
Don't you wish you were?
Just like me.
I gotta admit, I love that song back then. But anyway, like, and there's a couple other moments where he does it too. But the bass playing in general is really, really good. The bass sound, I think, is good. It has a nice mid range to it, which I like. So it's cool and punchy. Which when you got a production this clean, you if you're not going to go like for a big bottom end bass sound, which would be unusual, at least in my limited power metal experience, I think that would be kind of unusual to hear. to have that kind of a punchy mid-range on the bass, like you need that to cut through all that alternate picking, very clean distortion of guitar. Yeah. And it does. So you can, there's a good balance there. The sounds really work well together. Obviously the double bass is super dialed in. This would not be a power metal production if it wasn't. So sounds good there. I know what Kellen's saying about, the snare being buried a bit. It doesn't really bother me. Like I think it's fine. The keys are they don't overwhelm the guitars. I just wish they're more like goofier moments where in the background. I think my ear's just picking them out more, but when the goofier keys come on, I feel like they're like being loud, but I think that's just because I just don't like the sounds.
Yeah.
They're just not as metal, but where they are in the mix is just fine. And obviously like the layered vocals on the big choruses, the big sing-along choruses, again, a tenet of power metal that we expect, but done very well, done very professionally. There's really nothing that I can point out production wise where I felt like there was a problem here. And, honestly, if there was, I would be surprised because, hey man, this is Kai Hansen. I mean, I might know a lot about power metal, but I do love Halloween and they're awesome. And I know he knows what he's doing. So no surprise there, man. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Great production as expected.
Logan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very impressive production considering just how many different layers there are. It's when you're, layering vocals, you got keyboard tracks, you got multiple guitar tracks going on, and you can hear all the different layers, especially in the upper range of it. So I think that's where the production works extremely well, in just how you can differentiate the group vocals from Kai Hansen doing what he's doing, and then the keys behind that. And it doesn't necessarily sound compressed. Like it sounds all there, sounds organic enough while still being clean. I think it's great. I do have issue with the bottom end, and I think Kalen and Jim both separately kind of touched on it. I don't like the slap bass. I don't like the funk. The funk, whenever it comes in, it's just like put up. Like, what are we?
We don't.
That's more of the performance, I guess, than the production. But it's just even how it fits into the mix. It like pops out of nowhere, into the mix and
into the black hole, into the
black. But then it comes out of the black hole and it does it again and again. So it's just a very interesting. It's an odd choice to me for a power metal album to have like a funk based performance because. Yeah, I don't know if Mordred is a band I'm necessarily familiar with, but definitely Infectious Grooves was coming to mind.
Oh,
yeah. And that's not something I want. So.
Funky Suicidal.
Yeah. Mordred was better than that.
Oh, see, okay. I'll have to check them out. Or maybe not, but
Nah. You don't need to check it out.
The debut Mordred is a pretty good thrash record, but they have a couple. They do Super Freak by Rick James, and then they do that Every Day's a Holiday funky thing, and yeah, kind of torpedoes it a little bit, but still, I always enjoyed it. Good record.
Maybe I will. We'll see. Then yeah, the drums. I don't know. They sound a little digitized at times, and especially like in the tom work sounds a little more synthetic than I would like. And then yeah, I can't think of what the snare sounds like. So I don't know. It probably did get lost in the mix. I would feel, I would agree with that. But I get it. The point of the production is to highlight the forefront of the sound, which is the guitars, the keys, the vocals, and all of that sounds amazing. And you can hear and distinguish everything perfectly. And yeah, it doesn't sound too clean, just clean enough. So I think it does do its job, though I can nitpick. Because that's why we're here.
All right. Well, for me, again, I agree with all of this. The interesting, you hear, they say the bass and the drums, they're the rhythm section of the band, and good bass player hooks up with the drummer, they feed off of each other, type of thing. This album, the production, especially on headphones, there's several instances on the album where you really hear this in action and practice. Dirk's a fantastic bass player. The way he's playing along with Dan and the way they're so lockstep with each other, it creates like this pulsing sound. It adds to the gallop and the double bass work. It's really cool. Yeah, but Dirk will break away from that and do some really tasty bass stuff, and you can hear all of it. But it really, how him and Dan lock together in some of these faster songs, it's really cool to hear that, how tight and what a bass can really do to benefit the double bass on the drum kit. So that's one thing I did notice. And this production is clean enough where you can experience those things. You know what I mean? Logan's completely right. And the layering, you don't really listen to it when you're driving down the road, but when you're sitting here listening to it on headphones, the weird places where they put like a second vocal line comes in and out. It's just like this big production type of vibe. I think they recorded this in their own studio. I don't remember, but man, they just all the little tricks. They got all the little tricks, and the production is so good and pristine. You can hear all these little things. The keyboards are far enough back where they're not stepping on anything, but yet they can be felt. And the multiple guitar layering and the solos, the way you could tell Henyo and you can tell Kai and just their playing styles and their sounds are just slightly off from each other. It's a clean production, but it doesn't lose sight of power, which is fantastic. They walked a perfect line on here and they nailed it, I think. But let's talk about our favorite or least favorite songs. Logan.
Oh, back so soon. Let's see. Going for the favorites first. Somewhere Out in Space is my favorite track on the album. Definitely, it's the song that reminds me of Blind Guardian the most, because I think it's got that, like, the group vocals and just how it interacts with Kai singing. It just makes me think of a certain era of Blind Guardian that I love, the Tales from the Twilight World and Somewhere Far Beyond era, and where that's like their bread and butter. So absolutely love that track, and I just love how much they fit in only 5 minutes. It goes in so many different directions. Yeah. I mean, including the weird, like, take me down, the soul searching part. It's just interesting that they do that. I grew to like it, and especially how they vary up the choruses. Like, it builds every single time it comes back to the chorus section. Like, it's just the one run through in the beginning, then it doubles it up, and then at the very end, it's just building until it's like this full orchestra. Like, I mean, this is the Queen influence again, I'm assuming. There's just so many different layers to it, all going at the same time, singing, Somewhere Out in Space, and you got Kai in front. So this is probably a 10 out of 10 song for me, and definitely an absolute favorite. Watcher in the Sky is my second favorite. This is the most Judas Priest-esque track.
Actually, I just want to jump in real quick. Watcher in the Skies first appeared on the first Iron Savior album. Kai was in Iron Savior.
Wait, it was an Iron Savior track first?
No? Yeah, he wrote it. He wrote it for Iron Savior, Watcher in the Sky. Him and Peter, the main guy from Iron Savior, was going to be the first. He was going to be in Halloween in the early years. At the first iteration of him, but he couldn't do it because of all the demand that was going to come his way. He couldn't do it. So he formed his own band, and Kai joined it because they're friends. And he wrote Watcher in the Sky. It's track 10 on here, and it's great. And Kai even sings it on here. So it's cool hearing an updated version of it. I just want to throw it in that it was an Iron Savior song. He wrote it for Iron Savior, but it ended up being Gamma Ray as well. Anyway. Sorry.
That's a cool side note. I'm gonna have to check out the Iron Savior because it seems like
check out the debut. It's great. Peter's got a rough voice too, and he's got a melodious but rough voice. This is a really good album. The debut.
Are they leaning a bit more heavy metal, like in their?
Yeah, there isn't as much show. There's no show tuney stuff going on here. There might be a ballad. The Germans love the ballads.
They do.
I don't remember though. It's been a minute since I've spun this. But anyway.
I'll have to check it out. But no, The Watcher in the Sky to me is just unequivocally badass track all the way through. There is no weird show tune section to it. It's just speed metal to me. And as I said, it has the nods to Judas Priest. There's a great guitar solo in here. Yeah, Watching the Sky in the Sky is a favorite. Valley of the Kings is my third favorite. And this is very anthemic in the chorus, like almost like Man of War-esque, like, you know, marching with your buddies, you know, power metal. But at the same time, I just like the urgency and the tone it sets. It's still a bit on the darker side of things, and especially when you're listening to the lyrics and the verses, and which the verses themselves are a bit more drawn back and keyboard heavy, you know, which I kind of like the variety there. And then the quickly highlight Beyond the Black Hole and Shine On are perfect, like bookends to this album. Like they kind of both do the same job of, like, you know, showing what's to come in the album and then like kind of summarizing it, but then also putting a little interesting twist with Shine On. I think they both do a great job of opening and closing the album relatively similarly, you know, though in their own unique way. Of the two, I think I prefer Black Hole just a little bit more because of that middle section where it like really ramps up with the riff and he's singing, you know, on to the black hole. And yeah, that part is awesome. Shine On, it just has a fun, hard rocking kind of feel, you know, and I have grown to like the Broadway show tune section a little bit. It still gets me every time, but then when it finally comes back and lands on the slow, you know, Shine On section, it's kind of worth it.
It's triumphant.
Like, it builds you up so much. Yeah. You're like, okay, it's kind of worth it. I get it. And yeah, I maybe it's the last song and them doing that. I'm a little more forgiving to them experimenting like that, because you see the finish line, you make it to the finish line. It feels good, you know. So I ended up really liking Shine On. You know, Shine On, Garth. It's a good song. The ones I want to like more, which are still a bit too power metal for me, Guardians of Mankind and Winged Horse. Like they're still a bit too on the out there. I wish they were a bit more heavy metal inspired, or like a bit more of an edge. Guardians of Mankind, that chorus is a bit too cheesy. Winged Horse is grown on me a lot, probably the most of the songs, but I still haven't quite placed all of the different it's very keyboard driven, which, funny enough, both of these songs were written by the keyboardist. So maybe that's the issue. And then the one that I'm still not on board at all is Pray, for the obvious reasons. I can't with how much of a ballad it is. On the previous album, Land of the Free, the ballad that's on there where Hansi pops up. I'm drawing a blank on the name. But that one, I ended up fully on liking that song because of how it kind of builds throughout.
Farewell. Was it Farewell? Yeah. Goodbye, my friends. I'll be leaving you today. That one.
Yeah. I ended up liking that song because it kind of builds, and there is a very cool guitar outro, but I don't feel like Pray quite gets there. But and then real quick, I like the interludes. I think the interludes are good segues that build to the actual songs, and to me, they didn't end up feeling like interludes whenever I would get to them. Just a intro to the song, so didn't take away anything.
All right, Jim.
Yes, for me, definitely. Like I'm already mentioned before, Beyond the Black Hole is a super killer intro to this album. You know, it's a great, you know, energy blast for you coming into the record, wakes you up, you know, you're ready, like, okay, this is going to be a good ride here. You know, it's got, you know, every, you know, element of power metal that, you know, that I like in it. You know, it's, you know, double bass, you know, the alternate picked riffs, you know, great singing, memorable chorus. Like it's all there. It hits all the marks for me.
Soaring riffs. It's like linked up. It's so killer.
Yeah, great harmony.
Traditional Halloween shit right there. You know?
Exactly. It's very Halloween-esque, which that's awesome. I mean, it's kind of he is Halloween. You know what I mean? He's just as much right to that as anyone else. in that band. So yeah, it's a great song. Men, Martians, and Machines is that riff's just a little too similar to Painkiller. Like it bugs me a little bit, but I do think the kind of the quick little Close Encounters of the Third Kind little homage at the beginning is kind of cool. I like how they
You like at the end, they're gonna get you. They're gonna get you.
Get you.
I love that.
Yeah. It's and No Stranger. It's funny because I don't know if it was on Archives or Wikipedia, but it said that he wrote this song for some the other guy in Halloween. I can't remember his name.
Michael Wyckoff.
Yeah, Michael. But that guy said it was too heavy. I'm like, No Stranger isn't really that heavy of a song. I was kind of surprised that when I read that, I thought I was expecting it to be fast and brutal, and it's not. It's like mid tempo.
I think it's most emotional track that isn't a ballad on this.
Yeah, it's got the chorus is slow and melodic.
I love that.
Yeah, I do. I'm always a fan. I love like the classic metal thump, like the dun, 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 dun.
Sleazy chords in there. Yeah,
you do that.
There's a hole in the sky.
Yeah, I'm always like, okay, I like that. I've always loved that. I don't know why. It's like the easiest thing to do in the world as a musician, but it makes me appreciate
it's primal. It's primal, man.
Yeah, it is. Primal. That's a good word for it, Marty. Then we get to, I agree with Logan. It's the best song on the album, man. I love the title track here. Somewhere Out in Space. That song is destruction. It's so good, man. The intro riff is awesome. The riffs are kind of like thrashy. It's very up tempo feeling. The bass lines are fast and really cool. The chorus is like fun to sing along with. Somewhere Out in Space. It's time for deliverance. One of my favorite solos on the record is on here. It's just got everything, man. And that song right there, like if you don't listen to anything else in this record, you listen to that title track and it's the one. So that absolutely is my favorite song. And Beyond the Black is up there. So let's see. And again, I just got to bring up again, man, Lost in the Future. That would have been like my third favorite song, but the Oh Susanna thing just kills it for me, man. It's so good. Like before that and after that, like everything is awesome. I'm like, why? Why did you do this? I don't understand it, man. The Closer, I agree with Logan. This is a great bookend. There's really great drumming here. The drum work on this song is awesome. And of course, the Shine On chorus, we already talked about that. They do a callback to the Rising Star, the title of the previous brief track, which is more like an intro, I think, for Shine On than really a separate song. That's kind of what it feels like to me, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But I like that they did the callback. The heavier section, about 2 minutes and 40 in, is really cool. Again, the Goofy Meatloaf thing, definitely sucks for me, but it isn't as off-putting as Oh Susanna. You know what I mean? Like I can okay, here we go. Let's go a little meatloafy. I know it's gonna get heavy again, and it does, and then we're good. You know what I mean? But just so the rest of the songs are all good. Nothing bad here. Every cool. It's nothing that was like turning me off. All those songs I think are serviceable. I've never been a big fan of drum solos, so
dude. You never convinced me that putting a drum solo on an album is a great idea. I don't care if it's only 40 seconds long. It's stupid. Don't do it. Stupid.
I don't get it, man. So Cosmic Chaos was just a waste for me. I don't understand why that's on here. I don't care. Even with the great mighty Black Sabbath, man, I didn't like.
Why? I mean, I get it more in the 70s, early 70s. You're trying to fill space. I get it, but not now.
There's only two times that a drum solo is cool: when you're a drummer, and if you're at a show and you're feeling tired and you're watching a band with a really good one and they play for like a minute, like keep it brief, keep it short, entertain me while I go get a beer, whatever, you know what I mean? But those are for me the only two times the drum solos rock. But definitely got to call out Pray Pray.
If you're a drummer.
Yeah.
So I'm still laughing about that. Sorry.
I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
But Pray is just, it's not for me, man. I mean, I've already said what I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Discussion there. You can go back and rewind if you want to hear what I said about it earlier. So yeah, but that's the only song that I feel is garbage. There's, no other song on here is throwaway. Just sections of songs like the Oh Susanna, because if that kind of thing doesn't bother you, you're going to find that Lost in the Future is one of the better songs on this record. Because other than that, it's awesome. So.
Yeah.
Tyler says, as a drummer, I hate playing solos.
All right. Kellen.
So for all of this, almost an hour of a record, I really just have those two moments, which is probably sparing, like a collective 30 seconds or so that I didn't enjoy within this. I'm specifically talking about, we've already talked about the Oh Susanna moment and Lost the Future, and the interesting sort of piano part of the title track. But those are the only real, for me, like parts where I kind of cringe a little bit. The rest of the record, the other 58 minutes of it, is solid power metal and everything that I want from Gamma Ray. I think Beyond the Black Hole, this album starts, and any hesitation that I was not going to get what made Land of the Free great is completely gone. I really enjoy the opening track.
Yeah.
I think it's solid the whole way through. And this is interesting. The concept is somewhere out in space, and how they're including sort of space and sci-fi and trying to find peace on Earth kind of deal. Like, it just works. It's something that they sort of do throughout the entirety of this record, but it never feels like a hand-wringing sort of concept record affair. By far, though, my favorite track on it is No Stranger.
Yes, we're on the same paper.
I just think it does everything in a way that is incredibly well balanced. It takes the side that is sort of a little bit more rock or softer driven, that feels potentially a bit more introspective in terms of a moment, and during the midst of that chorus,
very emotional. I love it. The way he sings.
It's a quieter sort of like little piece in that chorus before it jumps back into, we've already talked about his interest in sort of Judas Priest and that sort of like more traditional heavy metal kind of thing. But it also has classic European sort of the break in it. They launch into this sort of double bass, fast guitar kind of deal, which is like everything you want from this band. So I think it's the best example of all the different influences that work seamlessly together to form a great song. That is my favorite track on this entire listen. And it's the one that also surprises me. Like, where is this going to go? And then they save the day kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I will disagree here with Logan. So Guardians of Mankind and The Winged Horse, I enjoy those. They might be the bit more like straight ahead power metal for you. But I think they're like classic sort of power metal affairs here. I actually think the build up on Winged Horse, I like how patient it is before it gets going. So it, like I said, it's even though maybe the epic of this album, and I don't think it stands up to the opening track on Land of the Free. It is still, I think, a great song here. And then probably, I'm happy you brought up Watcher in the Sky, as it's sort of its background there. I thought it's a sneaky track. Like, at the time, it paid dividends to listen to this sort of the back end of this record separately, kind of starting in the middle and then working the back, just because I noticed that song a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk briefly about Jim's favorite track on the record, Pray. For some reason, this never felt so egregious to me.
I know where you're going with this for sure.
And
I don't.
so I just
No
kind of,
idea.
I think you were talking about this when you did the Halloween album club sort of special recently, like review album club deal.
Yeah.
I don't know in terms of like the religious background of the band members here. But I had never heard this song, and like, yes, it's kind of ballady and soft and so on and so forth. For me, it always felt like within the context of the record, like, yeah, this is their one real foray into this world. I think it goes a little bit too far for my personal preference, but I never felt like, man, I could do the without, right? I absolutely, what the hell are they doing by comparison on Lost in the Future? Like that was an absolutely like the record stops moment. What's going on? And where I hear, I pray, and it's just much more like, okay, I kind of get what they're doing. So I didn't have as much of an issue with that song here. All being said, 58 minutes of great power metal. I enjoy if the theater slowed down, it empties out, the stage clears, you get with Shine On. I think it's a cool way to end the record.
It's like their November Rain.
But like within the context of this band, I think it totally makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
I no problems at all with that.
All right. I think everybody went except for me, correct? All right. You look at this track list. I was kind of realizing it when I was spinning it today in front of everything and not, distracted or whatever. But this album from track 1 to track 7, it's just kind of banger after banger, varying levels of heaviness or speed. Beyond the Black Hole, we've already established as that is, the speed metal mission statement right off the bat. Men, Martians, and Machines, kind of more of a commercial rock vibe entering into it. Super catchy melody lines and chorus. I got to get to No Stranger. That's my favorite. No Stranger is my favorite on the album, just because it's a very classy track. It leans a little bit more into the hard rock realm with that super heavy emotional chorus. They never lose sight of the energy. And even though it's not a fast track, great midsection with powerful solo work, and title track also agree, complete favorite as well. It starts off with that, they go back to the chugging speed metal push, which I love. And this is the track where I was saying where Dirk and Dan links up, and there's like this pulse. They're so tightly locked in the way the production is. You can really feel the pulse in there. Synth work is a little more predominant on here. It fills in the background, gives it more of an uplifting power. Before they slide into the Queen inspired breakdown, which if you don't like Queen, maybe you should go somewhere else, because there's that element kind of is prevalent throughout a lot of the Gamma Ray stuff. Guardians of Mankind, another catchy one. The Landing is I think The Landing is kind of a pointless one. It's kind of epic in scope, feels theatrical, kind of feels like the aliens have arrived here, even though there really isn't a song to go with it. But Valley of the Kings, we're back, uplifting power metal track, good interplay between Kai and Henyo. They really complement each other's styles very well. But then you get to Pray, the track 8 on the album. And at this point, if you're into German heavy metal stuff, they love their ballads. I give you Scorpions. Okay. I mean, if Scorpions are the blueprint for German heavy metal, then I mean, there you go. And I see why Halloween, there's every song, the last one didn't, but they often have a ballad on there, and they're usually good. They're really well written. Pray, it's very piano heavy, symphonic. I mean, if you dislike ballads, there's nothing here that's going to change your mind, not even a little bit. But I really did end up liking the depth and the variety in the song. and it acts as a bit of a reprieve. And not that I like the double bass, the speed, I like the attack of power metal, but if you're thinking about pacing your album, it's good to have a spot somewhere where it takes you down a notch, and this is the track that does that. I mean, they've been whooping your ass for 7 songs leading up to this. So, and this is another instance of how well Kai can sing. So he's, accompanying the piano really well, and, love it or hate it, I don't mind the track. When it gets here, I don't hate it. Another favorite's Winged Horse. The solos on this one are just awe-inspiring. So well done. Completely epic track. Many twists and turns. I mean, crushing double bass. Awesome. Yep. Least favorite, Cosmic Chaos. 48 seconds long of pointless drum solo. I mean, come on, man. I mean, yeah, we've already gone through all this stuff, but Shine On. This is the true ending track on the album. It's another Dirk track. You can tell he's got kind of he's going super theatrical on this one. Very epic song. A lot of piano woven throughout it. Again, feels a bit show tuney. But Gamma Ray always did kind of go this direction on occasion, which to me is fearless songwriting. They're confident enough. They think they know enough outside of the metal realm that they can incorporate this and make it work within the power metal sphere. And it adds a bit of variety to it. So yeah, I'm all for it. It's an impressive and ambitious song. And I get why they ended the song with it. Return to Fantasy. God, I love this is another one that every time it comes on, I have to listen to it a couple times. I just love how they really locked into the feel of this song, the melody lines and Kai singing on it. They really metalized it well without, distancing themselves too far away from the original. It's just a really, really well done song. I don't know if it's on all the versions. It's on the version I have. Yeah, great stuff. Great album. Let's talk about Judgment. Final thoughts, Jim.
Okay, so Judgment final thoughts. This is power metal, man. It's a perfect example of that. Made by a founder of Halloween, which everyone knows. I mean, Gamma Ray is a pretty ubiquitous name in the metal world. So, I don't think there's any surprises here. For me, power metal outside of Halloween and Blind Guardian is just not my bag. I'm just not super interested in it. So having said that, with my typical would buy, wouldn't buy, or would buy if it was cheap, I would probably buy this used or something. I'm not gonna rush out and get it. It just doesn't move me that much.
You wouldn't spin it much.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I've always, if I'm in the mood for power metal, man, I just listen to Halloween and Blind Guardian, and I'm so okay with that. I'm cool with checking out some heavier elements of that. I got some mentions in the chat here tonight that I'm going to check out, and also Lost Horizon, that they're awesome. You know what I mean? So there are bands that that like, yeah, this is really great, but for me, like, this is like I pick it up used, but it's power metal.
Right on. Kellen.
Yeah, I will eventually get around to picking this up. It was a great follow-up to my exposure with Land of the Free, and it did not disappoint. So this is like the second one you need in your collection. I know some people in the chat were talking about New World Order.
We're going to talk about it again before we're done.
Okay. Well, I was, from initially being like, okay, here's the one you need to own. Picked that up, was pleased to get a follow up here at Album Club recommendation, and it by all means sort of encouraged me. So I don't know when, but eventually I will get around to picking this up.
You need to check out Power Plant too. It's a really good album.
So this run essentially,
it's a good run. It really is a good run. Yeah.
But it was a killer record. And this band definitely has everything that I really want from this side of power metal for sure.
Right on. Logan, you picked it. It was your blind pick.
That was my blind pick.
Where did we land?
Honestly, I ended up happy with it. I think that Gamma Ray is a band I could and am kind of getting into. Like I revisited Land of the Free a lot while spinning this week, and honestly, I think that is a better album, at least for me. It's what you mentioned. The song highlights are stronger, and it feels like they go a bit more in the straight up heavy metal lane in Land of the Free, which I'm definitely a fan of. But yeah, that and like this one is kind of right up there with it, just a more energetic, speed metal oriented, and more eclectic version of Land of the Free. But I enjoyed that, and I'm gonna listen to some other Gamma Ray after this for sure. I was getting recommendations in the chat. No World Order seems like a must. You mentioned Power Plant. Seems like that's the good sweet spot right there, that 4-album run. So I think Gamma Ray will be another band I can add to my power metal, small little power metal interest, I guess. I feel like for me, it's not going to be all of a sudden I click and I'm like, oh, I like power metal now. It's just going to be, I like this band. I like that band. I like this album. And that's kind of it. And
well, the door is open. You're
keep
kind of getting you want to step all the way in. You're poised. You're on the precipice. You're on the threshold.
Can't I just keep reaching in and just grabbing an album, bringing it over to my side, and
snatch and grab,
snatch and grab, and bring it over, and then just close the door after I'm done. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But this was a success. I ended up really enjoying this. I think I will keep spinning it. I would pick this up, though. This one seems really hard to find. I did a little bit of research earlier.
You just don't have to give your brothers back. I mean, what's he going to do?
I'm going to say the cat. Yeah, I'm older than him. I'm going to say the cat ate it, and I'll keep it.
Bro, I'm sorry. The snake ate it.
Both the cats and the snakes. It was awful. Tatters. That's all we got. Yeah, I'm sold on it. I think it's like an 8.5 out of 10 for me right now, and it could get higher. So I was kind of impressed. But yeah,
right on. Yeah, I mean, I completely recommend this as well. I mean, like I said, Land of the Free starts a very impressive run from this band. And really moving on out, I liked everything they've done at this point. Their first couple records, I'm really kind of spotty on. There's some great songs on it, and there's some that aren't great. I just wish Kai, even though I like Ralph Sheepers, I kind of wish Kai sang on them. But yeah, this album I think is great. Fantastic. They somehow got over the hump that sometimes it's hard. Extreme Aggression followed up by Coma Souls. Coma Souls is a great record, but it's not as good as Extreme Aggression. It's just hard to follow up a great album. But they did it here. More consistent than the one before it. And it sets them up nicely moving forward. You could tell they're experimenting a bit more with the theatrical stuff, show tuney stuff. But yeah, if you are new to Gamma Ray and you're just checking this album out and you liked it, definitely you need to put Land of the Free on your list. This is an absolute banger. And it's got Michael Kiske on a couple songs. It's good to hear him and Kai back together on here. And another one, a couple albums later, is No World Order. This is a fantastic record, 100%. It's just so solid, well done. And it's produced very similarly, so they don't really have a misstep. Land of the Free 2, okay, a good album. What was the name? Majestic. That album I need to visit a bit more often. That one is one I don't come back to often. To the Metal, I didn't initially like it as much. A lot of Judas Priestisms on it, but I ended up really enjoying it. Kiske returns to that one too. So you get a little bit of the voice sprinkled throughout the Gamma Ray catalog for sure. But definitely check it out. And yeah, for ranking, I'd give this a solid 8.5 as well. That sounds a fair ranking. Really well done. Love the German heavy metal. Just love it. And I picked next week, and it's time. This has been on the list for a long time. We're going to be doing Austrian's Summoning.
Yeah.
Stronghold. Long overdue. Probably my favorite from this band, but Let Mortal Heroes Sing Your Fame is also there. Minas Morgul. I mean, there's a very impressive run of music here with this band as well, but it's a long one. Be patient. But I think the payoff if you're into black metal. Very good. And also, if you also like Gamma Ray, definitely check out the first Iron Savior record. This CD was not cheap, but I had to have it. Noise pressing, self-titled. Check it out. Anybody have anything to add before we pull the plug on this 2-hour-long episode?
Sunday night, gas mask and hand grenades.
Yep, that's right.
What does he call it? 3 of an Imperfect Pair, episode 2, Mad Season, Temple of the Dog, and Screaming Trees. I think it's at 9 Central. So Sunday.
Right on. And go check out Kellen's new episode on his channel, Killing for Company. Talking about the groovy death metal era of Sweden. Jim, you got anything coming? Anything going on?
No. I've got a couple bands. Logan's found a couple bands that we may be reaching out to. I haven't checked them out yet, so pretty stoked about that. Because we got crickets from the other guys, so that kind of sucks. But great pick, Marty. I'm going to enjoy listening to Stronghold over and over again because I've done that many times over the years anyway.
Yep.
Love that record. Very excited.
Right on. Well, I guess that's it. Go click on everybody's links in the description. If you're not subscribed to their channels, please go do so. Let's get these guys built up a bit. It's great to see all of you in the chat tonight. Awesome. If you enjoy the community, definitely go check out our Discord server. We have this level of interaction that you see in the chat all week long in the Discord server. So let's go check that out. And that's it. We will see you. Friday. There is a pre-recorded episode on Friday. I was not. Alan will be gone, and I'm taking the night off. So it's Alan, Yana Stark, Jurgen, and Aaron, the Metal Theologian. They're talking about 70s albums that could be metal. I don't remember. I don't remember the whole gist of the 70s metal records, we'll say. Does that make sense? So they're going to be showing a bunch of stuff. I might be in the chat. I know some of the other guys will be, but pre-recorded episode, lots of fun. Definitely check us out. We'll be here Friday regardless. But that's it. We'll see you. Review coming from Logan as well. So cheers, everyone. See you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.